Thanks so much for joining me in making these mini star earrings. I did this in a live recording on Facebook with Meredith from Bezel, showing her how to make this design. So if you've been waiting for the tutorial, here it is. Gather up your RounDuo minis, some seed beads and crystals, and let's get started. So to get started, I'm going to show you how to do the bezel first around the larger crystal. The smaller chaton, which is an SS39, is going to be done the exact same way. So I have the front and the back here showing you that it's literally the exact same thing, except when we go from the smaller to the bigger, we're changing the count of the RounDuo minis that start our netting. To do the SS39 chaton, you're going to start with 5 RounDuo minis, and we're going to get started with our 10mm Rivoli with 7 of our RounDuo minis. Go ahead and put a size 10 or a 12 needle on 0.006 wildfire beading thread, which I have in the green color. We're going to pick up our RounDuo minis, and these are the metallic sea blue, with an 11/0 between each. We're going to start again, remember, with that Rivoli, so you're going to start by putting on 11/0 RounDuo mini, and we're doing this 7 times because we're going to start with the bigger one. This netting can also be done for a larger Rivoli as well if you want to do a pendant to match. Again, you're just going to increase the amount. If you want to do a 14mm pendant, you're going to start with, or a 14mm Rivoli rather, you're going to start, instead of 7 RounDuos, you're going to do this with 10 RounDuo minis. So once you have those on your thread and needle, you're going to let them drop down to the end of the thread. I've got 6 on, 1 more to go. And once I have that on there, we're going to tie the initial into a circle. So if you want, you can do a stop bead, but we're just going to do a nice little knot to circle it out. I'm only going to leave enough thread at the end of that knot to tie another knot. So we have our knot created here, and we're going to tie this into a simple loop. This is one of the simplest and quickest ways to do this netting, is to start with these RounDuo 2-hold mini beads. And I have my knot created, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do a step up. So we are currently going through the first or the inner hole of the actual RounDuo. What we're going to do is go to the outer hole of that same RounDuo, stepping up from one hole to the other. Coming out that knot, I'm going to sew through the next 11/0 as well as the next RounDuo mini. To step up, then we're going to take the thread and needle through the second hole of that same RounDuo mini, turning it so that way it's coming out the other end. This is going to present a little bit of thread that you're going to see from one hole to the other, but by the time you get your seed beads in, you won't see it at all, so not a big issue. Now we're going to go around and we're going to add in some 11/0 seed beads. We're going to add in 3 11/0s this time to get the initial start of the netting. So in between each of the second holes, I want you to take 3 11/0s and sew into the next RounDuo mini through that second hole. Again, 3 go on, and this is the start of our netting, and through the next one. So again, I have 7 on here. I'm going to repeat this 7 times, adding in my 3 11/0 seed beads. So I have the last 3 11s in my hand here, and I'm going to go through that first RounDuo mini that the thread was coming out of. That gets 3 11/0s around all of that exterior hole. What I'm going to do is come back and catch on to the center of those 3, so always that second bead. I'm going to sew through the first 2 11/0 seed beads after that RounDuo mini and come on out. Now our count number is going to be 5, so we're going to start adding 5 seed beads. We're going to add 5 of our 15/0 seed beads that are going to start to bring around and kind of wrap from the center of each of those 3 groupings to the next center. It's going to create a little V as you're going along. So I'm going to add 5 of my 15s, and then you're going to skip over to your next grouping of 11s and sew through just the middle one. And bring your thread and needle out. If you happen to get a 15 where it gets stuck on it, go ahead and just push it off to the side And it's that first one, doesn't want to come down. If you had a size 12 needle, you could have avoided that. I'll put those 5 back on and keep it there so you realize happens to everybody. Go in and put those 5 on. As you start adding the 5 seed beads and go around this circle of 7, going into that center bead, you want to realize that it's going to start to have kind of a curvature to it. When it has the curvature to it and you're pulling it around, these seed beads are going to start to pop up and come up to form that rounded loop. I'm going to continue sewing through, adding in my 5 seed beads, going through the center 11 the whole way around this loop of 7 RounDuo minis. As you add in the last of your 5 15-0s, you're going to sew through that first initial 11 that your thread was coming out of. And you can see now by the time you add the 7 groupings of the 15s that you can see that curvature kind of starting to happen. It's creating a basket for your crystal to sit right in the middle of. And again, with the colors, I'm using the Crystal Lab Full in the 11-0 Miyuki, and then I have the Duracoat 15-0 in the pewter color. And as I come around, I'll add this Peridot AB color, which actually pulls up that nice blue and green look to it. Coming around then, we're going to do another step up so we get to another level of our netting. We added 5 15s. And just like we did when we added the 3 11s, we're going to pick up the middle bead. So it's going to be the 3rd bead that we sewed into, and we're going to sew out through that 3rd 15-0. Once you sew through that 3rd 15-0 then, we're going to always sew into that 3rd bead. Just like we did with the 11-0s in the sewing through the middle one, we're always going to connect onto that middle bead. Between those middle beads that we're connecting, I want you to add 2 of your 11-0s. So we're going back to 11-0s, adding 2, then skipping over to our next grouping of our 15s and sewing through that middle 15, and then adding those 2 between it. Again, it's going to start to, again, create that netting and fold it over even more. I'm not worried yet about putting my Rivoli in place. I'll make sure that I can kind of have a little bit of slack to put the Rivoli in, and then we'll reinforce it one more time, sewing back through what we're just doing, and we'll kind of drop the Rivoli in. So right now I'm just worrying about getting my 2 11-0 seed beads right in place through that next 15 and making sure that they're staying towards the top. You can see that nice kind of V effect, that you're getting that nice pyramid of your 11-0s, and you're going to repeat this 7 times. So I've got 2 times in, I'm going into my 3rd one, making sure those 2 11s hang out. See how it kind of wants to go to the back? Push it towards the middle. Give a nice little snite kind of little tug there on your thread. And just to show you, when you drop in, you're going to have that nice seed bead look right on the exterior of the crystal. So proceed with your 4 more grouping of your 11-0s, dropping them in between that center 15-0. As you add in the last of your 11-0s, you can kind of drop the crystal in there, give a nice little tight pull, kind of move it around so that way it gets nice and circled out. And the last thing I'm going to do is really reinforce that central circle. And it's hard to see once you pop the crystal in there because it's so shiny and bright. But we're going to sew back through that 15-0 as well as the 11-0s, and we're going to make it kind of nice and tight, bringing up that netting a little bit more. So literally sewing back through everything that we just added, all those 11-0s, giving a nice tight pull after each, sewing through that center 15. And I did switch to a size 12 needle because I was stubborn and wanted a 10, but it's much easier with a 12. And you're just going to sew through and around back along that central line. So it's easiest usually to go through 115 and then go through and pull it through, give a nice little tight pull, and so on. It'll bring the 11-0s into the center a little bit and make sure that you're not going to lose your crystal at the front there. What I'm going to do next then is we're going to switch to our next chaton. So we have the Rivoli, now we're going to do the chaton. I'm going to go ahead and do my grouping of 5 and 1, the same just as we started out here. I'm going to do my 3 11-0s, then I'm going to do my 5 15-0s, connecting with those 5 groupings of 11. The last thing I'm going to do before I tie off the thread is show you how to do that connection point to connect the rivoli to the chaton for the pair of earrings, and also how to add on that wire guard at the top. Once you're done going around and reinforcing that center, you're going to bring your thread and needle down through some of the 15-0s along that other side of the V. Going down here, we're going to hide the thread, go through the 11-0 seed bead that sits right there below, and I'm getting the thread and needle back into the center of the design so I can take the thread ends and tie them together. I'm gonna go back through then, really kind of backtracking through, making sure you don't see any extra thread, going from the exterior to the interior back of the design. And I have my starter thread actually right there, so this is perfect. And I'm just gonna go through this RounDuo mini and step down. And sometimes if a knot's on the other side, you just kind of have to play around with it to get your needle through, but usually you can get it through pretty easily. Bring that needle out, and then I have extra thread here because I'm going to use this same thread in order to build my chaton when I get this guy done. So going through here now, my thread ends are at the same place. Oop, I went through the seed bead. Bring it back out through. Once my thread ends are at the same place, then it is time to simply tie a knot. Literally just the right over left, left over right, and then I'll take my thread burner and burn through the thread as well. Thread ends matching in the same place. Go ahead, take those 2 ends, right over left, left over right, tie it off. And with this, I'm not worried that I'm gonna see a knot in the back because they're front-facing earrings. If you are doing a design where you're worried about seeing that front, go ahead and weave your thread back into the design. I'm gonna burn off the thread ends, burn those 2 down. And if you want to also with this design, you don't have to do both drops of the earring. You can do 1 drop and be done. When Meredith and I did this on the live, we actually just did the chaton and we did not do the rivoli at all. I like the earrings as the 2 drops with the rivoli as well as the actual chaton on top. So I'll go ahead now and do the actual top for this with that chaton. Again, doing the exact same steps, but with a starting row of 5 rather than 7. So as I complete the second component here, we're gonna get ready. I'm gonna show you how to kind of add these together. Now you can add them together in a variety of ways. You can actually make them all separate and then add them together after the fact with jump rings or kind of stitching them together. But as you're finished going around the circle and reinforcing, just like the top one here, we're going to go through the 2 15s on the other side of the 15. That's kind of that central one to go through. And we're also going to come out then through one of the center 11-0 seed beads. Here's where we're going to create that connection with one of those center 11-0 seed beads from the bottom piece as well. We're going to pick up one of our 15-0s, pick up that center bottom piece, just making sure that you're going through kind of the same direction that it's going to face forward. And you're going to sew through one of those seven center 11s. Coming out the top then, grab another one of your 15s, and that's not the same color here. Grab another one of those pewter 15s, and then you're going to go back through, just literally creating it in the round, going back through after adding the 15 through the 11 at the top. That's just going to create a nice, simple, easy link, linking the 2 together. Now because they are linked together, I'm going to reinforce and sew through the 15 that I added, sew through the 11 from the one on the bottom, sew through the 15 along the top. And the thing that I love about this is that you can do this with all different sizes. So if you want to go even bigger, go ahead and add a 14mm on the bottom. Again, that starting size would be 10 of the RounDuo minis. You can do the exact same stitch for a multitude of different sizes, and it's super fast netting. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sew to get back to the top to one of those groupings of the 11-0s, and we're going to add our wire guard or wire protector right along the top. I'm going to, since I'm kind of at the bottom, going to sew down through the second 11-0 after the 11-0 at the connection. This is going to be the fastest way to kind of get to the top of this star is that we're going through the RounDuo Mini. Gonna sew through the 11 O's along the side here. Through one set of 11 O's, so we're going through the second hole of that RounDuo Mini, the exterior hole. Out through that RounDuo Mini. And then I need to get to the top, to the center, so I'm gonna go through those 11 O's right here along the top. And as you come through the 11 O's and get those in, you're gonna come out the 11 O's, and here's your opportunity to add your actual wire guard. So we're gonna add our wire guard here. And the wire guard, if you're not familiar with it, it's a U-shaped wire protector or wire guard. It's gonna keep your wire and your thread or your wire, depending on what you're using and what type of crafting, from rubbing against either your ear wire or your clasp. You're gonna go up through the top, making sure that thread's staying in the channel, down through the other side, and then go over to the next grouping of 3 seed beads and sew along there. Lastly, all we're going to do then is finish this up by again getting this thread to the back. So we're going through the next RounDuo Mini, through the exterior or the front hole, and then we're going to go hop over to the back hole. And we're going to find where our thread ends, which again, coming out at the exact right spot. Beautiful when it happens like that. And literally just tie off. If you want to, you can reinforce that wire guard. If it was a bracelet, I would reinforce it. And this would be a lovely bracelet that you could do with all different sizes of the rivolis as well, and the chatons and the crystals. It gives a nice open back and a nice room for those chatons that have that nice pointed back. Go ahead and tie right over left, left over right. Grab your thread, zap thread burner, wildfire cord cutter, and burn this down. Once you burn it down, then you have the little thread ends. Go ahead and heat up your burner, touch them to the thread ends, burning them down. And what that's going to do is prevent the knot from coming out. It kind of balls up the conditioning that's on the cording of that wildfire cord, and you have your earring completed. And like I said, you could do this as an actual bracelet, linking these all together and getting them all in, and really have fun kind of working with those different sizes and those different counts, whether or not you're using the SS39. 47 would be a 6 count, that 10 millimeter 7 count, and then again that 14 millimeter would be that 10 count if you want to just start with that interior. Stick an ear wire on and you are good to go. So here I am modeling the mini star earrings. You can have so much fun working with these, making them longer, keeping them short, even making them as little studs. Like I said, I challenge you guys to make a bracelet with all those different sizes as well. Those RounDuo minis make a great, great base. And I know I got Meredith addicted to bezel setting again with those RounDuo minis when she was here during that Facebook Live. And chances are you may get a little addicted too. So be warned and be prepared. If you do need any materials to join in making these and you're just checking them out, the links below the video here that have that little description of what the video is about near that subscribe and that like button have links that were used in this video that you can search with us and buy online at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. As with always, you can give me a little comment, a little thumbs up. Let me know what you're going to do with this design. Let us know if you tried something different size-wise, Crystal, and what the count is, so that way others will watch and know that as well, so you can help other members in the community out. As with always, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy making these mini star earrings in whatever version you want. Make them as a pendant with a 14 millimeter and really have fun trying out all different sizes, netting with the RounDuo minis.